What's good YouTube, and welcome to the house. I seriously could do the SEMO on Forbidden Chalice and the intricacies in the metagame and why it's rising up in price right now is an amazing option, but this is Market Watch, so let's go ahead and give you the cliff notes. This is good against True King of All Calamities, aka VFD, and Abyss Dweller, where Impermanence fails to be able to shut them down. Imperm can only activate while you control no other cards from your hand, so if you activate it, they're just going to chain Dweller or chain VFD, and if they're good players, they're going to wait for you to commit a card to board before shotgunning those two cards so they don't get imperm. That's where this card comes in. It allows you to commit cards to the board, force their Dweller, force their calamities, and be able to activate that. Forbidden Chalice Ultimate Rare, bought out to ridiculous proportions, flashbacks to Zodiac format with some of these buyouts happening in this meta / Master Rule hype, and it's towards $90 freaking over here on TCG Player. Oh, my bad. The $90 one is gone. It's towards $150 from somebody with 0% feedback. And then over on eBay, you see the Ultra Rare is actually at $11 plus, and the Ulti, one near mint, brand new listing. Let's see if the hype is going to slurp it off to $65, and you have a light play before you see a couple of others. So my advice on this card, you're going to be waiting a while to grab this anytime it's been hyped in the metagame. Yeah, it takes a while for it to climb back down, and you're already too late if you're on Market Watch with certain cards, as a famous quote once said. But when it comes to the other versions, you're kind of stuck playing the common unless you want to overpay or play gold rare. The ultra rare is buffed up in price. You only have the ulti, the ultra from the original printings, you have the gold, and then you have a star foil before you're just stuck with commons. I know some people are repulsed by it and can't stand to play it. I personally am fine playing common versions. I'm perfectly happy to, but you gotta hollow out your deck. You're gonna end up paying for it. Also, speaking of impermanence, the more I stare at the upcoming dual overload, the more I think of the rarity collection. I've been saying this for a month plus now, but with the altar arts confirmed from the Toy Fair to be in the set, that also mirrors the rarity collection, and I can't imagine what else impermanence is going to go into. I feel like the marketing is the same as Ash Blossom, where it will end up in dual overload and then get sold a lot of other places. So just big brain think about that. But again, I understand if you're going to regionals, you're planning for YCS, you probably don't want to let this card go. It's just a personal move that I would be making. Now, when I look at the Mattel figures, oh my gosh, there's buyouts everywhere. If that sounds familiar, that's because that's where this insanely priced Bubble Man is from. But now, Wingman, even if you were sane, even if you had the proper kind of money, you were willing to spend $125, you just can't get this freaking card. It's gone from the market. And sane spending $125, I don't know if that's in the same realm. Over $250 for a heavy play is the only listing on eBay. This is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Collector's market where you can have the money, be ready, and not find the cards that you're looking for. Sparkman and Burstinatrix are also up. So maybe you have something in the back pages of your binders that is literally worth $250,000 and you didn't even know it, because these are bubbling up. These are getting more valued and solid on the collector's market. Also to note, even though there's action figures for stuff like Cyber Dragon, the card does not exist. So some of these are false hope listings that people are like, wait a minute, I thought that didn't. Yeah, it really doesn't exist for certain cards. But feel free to start hunting for them. They just aren't out there. A hero that I think is undervalued and I kind of cringe to bring onto Market Watch because I personally want to get 6 to play Little City in the past, but I'm not in the market to hollow out my past format decks yet, is Elemental Hero Neo Soleus. I always bring you guys the deals before myself, even if it hurts me. So please use that TCG Player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra and supporting the channel directly when buying, so that I can continue to wholeheartedly give those suggestions. But this card lines up. There's another $12.50 on the other page, first edition near mint, and then there's multiple copies here. If you look over on eBay, there are no near mint copies under $20. In fact, the lowest by itself is $29, and then there's trios of like a German one that's like listed at $70 for 3 of them. So these are really good deals on TCG Player for this card. I like the ultimate rare. It's a hero, it's collectible. In the past it was playable. I don't think it will become playable again, but this is just a really good lineup, and I know personally personal friends in the Discord who have spent $20 on unlimiteds before, so way overpaid. Always check both and make sure you're getting yourself the best deal. Rip, I'm gonna be playing secret rares, I guess, in my little city decks, but I don't mind it. Or I'll play the commons that I pick out of bulk. I'm not super stuck on it, but eventually I want to hollow out past format decks, and this just isn't one of those full power decks that I'm gonna be playing. It was a footnote in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! That I really appreciate. DD Crow Ultimate Rare is further bought out. You had a listing at 70 and 90. Oh, well, here is a listing at 70, and then we look around and the 90 one's gone, so it's either pulled or sold. Maybe somebody knew the lister or they sold it elsewhere, but that's the only ulti on market. You're looking at an unlimited. Also, the DT is further bought out, shockingly, $17 as the only seller. I feel like every DT buyout in history has failed and gone back down, down, down over time, except for a couple of the ultra rares. So it should be interesting to see where this common version of DD Crow goes, but it feels like people just want to say, oh yeah, I'm not playing the Dual Devastator ultra rare, I'm not playing the raw yellow Mega Pack Super, I'm playing with the Shatterfoil DT that like nobody else has except for like tons of other people. The ultimate rare is the highest rarity. This is a mid-range. I just don't see it really holding, but good for you if you got in at the $5 and under mark. Try selling it for 10 to 12 and hopefully your sales rates are okay. Mystic Mine keeps fluttering down, 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 and then gets bought back out towards 750, and I feel like it's the tournament weekends really doing it. If I was playing Dinosaurs and I was going to a YCS, I really don't want to play this card just for my own, like, theory on Yu-Gi-Oh! And how I hate its existence, but I would have to give in to its power, I feel like, and play it in the YCS as an option to be able to stymie my opponents and get back in a winning position, and that's why so many people are giving in and playing this card. So you see several motivated sellers, including multiple copies under that $7 mark, and you keep seeing those listings appear, and you keep seeing them disappear. So let me know in the comment section down below, are you giving in to the power of Mystic Mine and the darkness if you're playing in competitive tournaments, or do you just refuse to play this card and hope it gets banned one day? Now, I can't tell you why this card is up. I really can't. I have zero idea other than its collectability, past formats, it's an ultimate rare, but it got big brain bought out from 30 towards 50 during Sky Striker format and fell all the way back down towards $30. So that $20 jump was non-existent for a bit. It started to get bought out again, and now we see it towards 60 freaking dollars over here on TCG Player, and we see it on eBay towards the mid-range of a foreign listing at 52 before they're like non-existent, towards $70, and you have a damaged one at 50. I think it's a great card to look to, but if I'm spending that kind of money, I'm trying to send it towards first edition MRL. I do get the ultimate rare is highest rarity and a lot of sense for people these days, but man, people really going after cards like that. Let me know if there's something big brain in Eternity Code, Secret Slayers, or moving forward towards the WCQ season where you see MST being played over Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twisters, or say something like Lightning Storm. Like, why do you think this is getting bought out? Purely for collectability, or are there other reasons? Niche gameplay. Speaking of penny stocks, which we'll get into further in the market watch, I keep looking at Topologic Zeroboros and it keeps going back down in price, yet doesn't have an insane amount of listings. It's a card I would consider having access to, a very, very good card. Just make sure you have your copies. Also, when it comes to Return of the Dragon Lords, I didn't know this was a $3 common, but it makes sense. Blue Eyes are a fan favorite. It's generically working with dragons of high levels, but the reason I'm here is Tracer. Unfortunately, I guess I'll be a Tracer. There's a couple of low listings before it hits $2 solid, so you have a couple motivated sellers with even some high quantities from, hey, Dollies, that's Sam's shop. But then you see One Up TCG, a good friend, being the next lowest in the $2 range, and it just quickly goes up from there. So if you're not trying to buy the structure deck, and I've also heard the structure deck is disappearing in shelves in certain areas, go ahead and get this card sooner than later, because the hype seems to be traveling even to the lower parts of the Rockets. Heatwave is a card I was going to bring up on the penny stock market watch, which, by the way, that's my biggest day on TCG Player for the link being used this month. That's insane. That means 2 average days, and it will be my biggest month despite having the least amount of days. I really thought it would be a lower amount of use like my other penny stock day, but you all went ham, and I really appreciate it, but I'll cover the bad side of that in a second. Heatwave, though, towards 250 and then non-existence. Only 3 listings. I told you guys to get this while it was cheaper. It's out of a speed dual structure deck, so people aren't going to want to open those too much. Also, the rare was down to $250 thanks to it. Now the rare is like freaking, I think $5 to $6 if I'm not mistaken, and that's out of STBL, of course, so highest rarity STBL. Let's see the lowest listing. Yeah, $385 actually, so I'm overhyping it a little. Before it is $5, so actually only a couple of listings before it's $5. But when it comes to this card, it's just so much generic potential for certain decks. Of course, Sutff being the main offender of being able to use this. I really like this card, but it's not doing much right now. It just had upward potential, and people have gone after that upward potential. The Frog Engine is something that goes up, up, up over time. Ronin Totem is over $7. I don't know when this happened, I kind of missed it, and Dupe Frog, his brother, isn't really spiking too much. Like, they're still available around the $350 range, which they've been at, just a little bit more than they were, and Swap Frog is freaking $110. I love this ultimate rare and how it looks. It keeps floating back down to 80 through Yu-Gi-Oh's history, then spiking up, so it's on its waves of buyout, similar to Dark Law in the past, and it's a loved engine. But man, that's crazy. I would get Dupe Frog sooner than later, I guess, since Ronin Tonen's also spiked up and people usually play them all together, but I feel like there were Mermail decks that only played these. Let me know if that's maybe the reason you see the highest spike in those two. Also, I would consider having Toad because it's calmed down for Master Rule hype, but I would really love to see this in something like Dual Overload or Battles of Legend. Konami's kind of just let this go for a long time without a reprint now, surprisingly so, and I could see this really popping back up a lot more after the Master Rule, as it was one of the most initial rush towards hyped cards, and it's settling back down, $18. Soon it'll be back where it was from Necros hype, you know, $15. So just keep an eye on this and decide when you want your copies of Toad, since it'll be used in way more decks than just the Frog Engine, which is on its own getting a lot of hype. I want to address with great power comes great responsibility, or in this case, thousands plus 10,000 eyes on just hundreds of cards. People are freaking out over the Primal Being token being slurped off the market, as it was one of the first things that I showed on the Penny Stock Market Watch. It's in the current OTS pack, and it's still going to be able to go back to the market, and it's not something that you need, but I showed undervalued cards knowing that, yes, some of them would be gone after. But the thing with Market Watch and YouTubers showing cards that they feel are undervalued is they tend to go back down on the market, and the suggestion is for the long term and not the immediate. The perfect example is from my own Market Watch a couple weeks ago. Dark Magician Girl spiked towards $10. No more on market. I'm really mad, John Moore. I wanted this card. I was waiting till payday. Oh, look. It's back down exactly where it was in price. These are long-term holds typically when I suggest them, not things that are going to spike just in 1 month. And even if they do immediately from Market Watch, unless the true value is there, so many collectors and other people see the value, then it stays up. But whenever it's from a YouTuber, even like Gage did no material recently, it was towards 16. Look, it's falling out because it's not necessarily seeing a ton of meta play. Pro Play Games actually in here with 9 of them, but people aren't just chomping at the bit for these $13 copies. They're staying lower, and they're going to continue to have vendors undercut each other and normality come back to the market unless the true value is there for it to immediately rise and stay up. That's why I try to be very careful on Market Watch and approach certain things with an air of caution. And that's also why I gave like 20 different options. You can't buy them all out if I feature them all. But seriously, it was so surprising to me that that was actually a record day, considering the last penny stock day did not do that well. I was trying to do the opposite of incentivize you guys. So we might be able to hit it to where we're doing 2 giveaways next month, even having a record month in the shortest month all year. Thank you guys so much for slamming that link, but I do try to be careful with how I present cards and how I'm talking about them on Market Watch, so sorry for selling out the tokens. That being said, thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and a lot of people forgot this even existed, is why they rushed after it, because when you search Nibiru, it doesn't come up. It's just straight up the Primal Being token.